Hey gang, this is Mr. MegaManFan, and I am at Chippy's in Omaha. And why am I at Chippy's? Well, this is new. It only opened up a couple of weeks ago. I was dying to check it out because it appeared to be a shop celebrating all things from the United Kingdom. And quite frankly, I needed to cheer myself up a little bit because the last couple of weeks have been pretty rough for me. I'm not gonna whine and moan and complain or anything, but I lost a friend and I had a minor health issue that I was dealing with that was very uncomfortable. And now that I was starting to feel a little better, both physically and emotionally, I thought now's the time to go out and do something fun. And a shop featuring UK goods seemed like something really fun, especially since I have some really good friends in the United Kingdom. So, Simon, Lynette, and Al, shout out to all of you. I thought, why not go and see what they have? And maybe even get some fish and chips, because the place is named Chippy's after all. You would think it was inspired by fish and chips and that they would have fish and chips. But as it turns out, the answer to that is no, they do not. They have a 2-year plan and they want to open a restaurant next door and serve fish and chips at the restaurant. But in this particular location, they just have a small bakery. I did pick up some knickknacks while I was there, though, like this salt and pepper shaker with a police box and a bobby. I thought it was very appropriate for me since the police box looks like the classic Doctor Who TARDIS, so I just couldn't resist. I also bought some sweets, which I'll show you in a little bit, and it turned out the bakery had a few items left, even though it was late in the afternoon, so I also got myself something to eat. Now, as you can see, some of the shelves were well stocked with goods, and others were a little barren because I think this place has been extremely popular since it opened, and not just with the locals, but I heard a lot of Scottish and British accents while I was in there, so I would assume whatever expats are living in Omaha have also taken a shine to the place. So they're keeping it stocked as best they can, but with the pandemic, I'm sure importing anything is pretty difficult right now, so they've done their best. And of course, with the pandemic, there is the mask mandate, so I was wearing a mask, and most of the people in the store were wearing a mask as well, but it was very crowded in there. Keep in mind, this is 4:30 in the afternoon, and they close at 6, and it was pretty much shoulder to shoulder while I was shopping, especially while I was waiting for my food from the bakery. And to have that proper meal, I opened a proper pint of Guinness Stout. What am I going to do with a cheese and onion pasty but drink a nice cold Guinness draft? And you're going to see that pasty in just a moment. I have to pull it out of the bag. They asked me what I wanted with it, and I just said, give me the usual, whatever you would put in the box with a cheese and onion pasty. Give me all of that stuff. Don't skimp on anything. They even stuck a cute little flag on it, which I was quite surprised about when I opened the bag and got out my cheese and onion pasty. But hey, I'm not complaining. I'll take a little souvenir. There's the brown sauce they gave me, which was a very thick and vinegary sauce. Slightly sweet. I did enjoy that quite a bit. And here's my salt and pepper shakers, as you can see. I'll pull them out, get all of this packaging material out of the way, and give you a closer look at them than you were able to get when I was shopping in the store. Now, if I'm being honest, and I try to be on this channel, the paintwork is a little bit sloppy. You can see it bleeding over the blue into the white there. But I still appreciate it for the shape, and some of that paint's probably going to wear off if I actually use it for its intended purpose. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if it's not perfect. It might actually give it a little more character than if it was mass-produced and every single one of them was exactly the same. Bobby, I would probably complain about a little more because around the eyes there shouldn't be that much paint bleed over. So I would say that's a bigger deal on the Bobby than it is on the TARDIS, but it is what it is. Next up out of the bag, I did promise that I got some sweets, and I will show those to you here. I just kind of picked one at random because I don't know the brand Stockley's, and I don't know what their quality is, good, bad, or indifferent. But chocolate eclairs sounded interesting, especially sugar-free, because that can be really hit or miss on sweets. Sometimes they can get that right, and other times they can botch it completely. Like if you get peppermint patties that are sugar-free, they can be anything. They can be great or they can be horrible. There's no in-between. Here's the cheese and onion pasty. And they gave me mushy green peas with it. At least one person I know on Instagram was really confused when I shared those photos. They were like, what's that green stuff? Peas, dude. Mushy peas. I think that's a pretty common accompaniment to a meal in the United Kingdom, at least. I would suppose it's a trope for us Yanks over here on the other side of the pond, but I've seen plenty of meals that come with mushy peas, so it didn't surprise me in the least, and I actually thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's peas that have been mashed together into a paste-like consistency. It's a little bit like potatoes, but obviously the sweetness of peas instead of the starchiness of mashed potatoes. So it was a nice contrast to the cheese and onion pasty, which was very light and flaky. I guess by the reputation of a pasty, I expected a denser, heavier dough, but maybe that's the Cornish pasty that is actually a protected, registered heritage mark of Cornwall, so that may be a thicker, denser crust than your generic pasty, but having not had an authentic Cornish pasty, I can't tell you that for sure. I can only tell you that this English imported version is light and flaky and pillowy, and the cheese and onion inside was not dense or thick either. It was there, but it was almost overwhelmed by the light flaky pastry. It was very subtle on the inside. So I suppose if I got a more traditional pasty that had meat and turnip inside, it might stand out a little more. That's only my best guess at this point. But I did enjoy the pasty, especially if you put the vinegar sauce on top of it. I just poured it on. It's very thick. It's almost like maple syrup at this consistency. Like a good maple syrup, not the runny Mrs. Butterworth type stuff. And once you pour it on, it makes a very nice accompaniment to the light flaky crust. It gives you that crispiness and that sweetness, and they contrast and complement each other quite well. I'd go back and forth, a bite without and a bite with, and I enjoyed it both ways. I highly recommend Chippy's in Omaha.